Hello everyone, it is Joe here from Omnipoke, the channel that brings you guys everything Pokemon, and today we're looking at Mega Rayquaza. It's a deck that we've not visited for a little while now, and it has some slight tweaks from Sun and Moon. We saw a very interesting list make top 32 in Anaheim with Volcanion EX. As you can see, we're not playing it, but I will be discussing it later on and why it's in there. But yeah, Mega Rayquaza is still a powerful archetype. You can see the weaknesses. I want to point to those straight away because I've put 4, which is like a lot more than I usually like to put. But really, it's a case of slowing down Mega Rayquaza to try and get back into the game, because basically Rayquaza just goes in as early as turn 1. It can go up to 240 damage, and it just sort of tries to run through the opponent with just having 1 or 2 Mega Rayquaza at most to just finish out the game, because you're rushing the player for prizes by just putting up so much damage as quickly as possible. So the archetype is very simple. Build your bench with lots of Hoopas and Shaymins, attack with Mega Rayquaza using Emerald Break, which does 30 times the number of your benched Pokemon, and yeah, just try and plow through everything in your path. The rest of the deck is just sort of consistency cards to try and get you to that point. So let's have a look at the deck in more detail, starting off with the Pokemon. We're choosing to use 3 of the colourless Rayquaza EX. Typically, it sort of depends on what's the most popular archetype in the format in terms of the weakness that Mega Ray, or the regular Rayquaza, has. This one currently has a weakness to Lightning. There aren't too many Lightning Pokemon in the format right now, outside of things like Zebstrika. So we think it's safer to play this one over playing the Dragon Rayquaza, which has a weakness to Fairy, which we feel Gardevoir is probably more prominent overall than seeing Zebstrikas or Jolteons in other Stage 1 lists. So you can flip-flop that as you like. The golden rule is, in general, this is the better one, because its attacks are better. Intensifying Burn for a single colourless does 10 base and 50 more if it's a Pokemon EX to the opponent's active. So this is a handy option for you, if nothing else. Puts a little bit of pressure on if you miss the turn 1 Dream. And it's something that you can just sort of use to get you there after, you know, sometimes your Skyfield has been bounced, you can't get the one-hit KO, so you deal something like 150 damage, you try and finish them off with an intensifying burn. That's oftentimes a decent option for you. Also, Dragon Pulse for 3 colorless energy deals 100, and you discard the top 3 cards of your deck. Very unadvisable. It's very, very rarely ever going to be dealing more damage than the Mega Evolution, but it is, again, an option for you. The fighting resist is also a small note to make, but really it's all about the Mega Rayquaza. First of all, it has this trait called Delta Evolution, which means that you can Mega Evolve Rayquaza as early as the first turn of the game, or on the turn that you put down your normal Rayquaza EX, which is very good for you. It means that, fitting the theme of the deck, you're really trying to throw out those attacks as early as your first turn if you go second, and definitely on your second turn in the game. Emerald Break for 3 colorless energy does 30 times the number of your bench Pokemon. So Hoopa EX is able to find 3 EX Pokemon, so he technically can count as 120 damage just from 1 Ultra Ball, and that is not only going to be 1 Ultra Ball, it's also going to be getting you more cards, because you're going to grab things like Shaymin EX. You're going to grab your attackers like Mega Rayquaza and regular Rayquaza, sometimes even Dragonite EX, which I'll get onto in a moment. So yeah, like I've already mentioned, the deck has a very simple goal: fill your bench, hit lots of damage, go, go, go. To get this attack cost going on the first turn, we need to find double colorless energy, and we also need to hit a Mega Turbo off. So we need to discard Mega Turbo via things like Sycamore or Ultra Ball to get there, which isn't too difficult. But it's not the most consistent turn 1 option for you, but sometimes you do live the dream, and it happens for Ray, and that's very cool for you. So just a 3-3 line. We are playing Super Odd Puzzles and 1 Dragonite EX, so we're fairly content with just the 3-3. Onto the 2 Hoopa EX. Like I've mentioned, Scoundrel Ring is a real crutch for this deck, not only in the early turns, but also for the reload potential to recover from when your stadium does get taken away, or yeah, that's the main thing really. KO's not so much, but it's all about its ability, Scoundrel Ring. When you place Pokemon from your hand to bench, you insert your deck for up to 3 Pokemon EX, except Hoopa. Reveal them and put them into your hand. Very good stuff. You're going to grab sometimes Magearna as your 1-off tech that we're playing in this list. mainly Shaymins and other Rayquaza pieces to get you going, fill your bench, draw yourself more cards in the early turns with Shaymin, which is very strong. The list we're using is a metal build of Rayquaza, because we really feel that Magearna EX is important in the current format. Mystic Heart prevents all effects of your opponent's attacks except damage done to each of your Pokemon that has any metal energy attached to it. This can really help out against a few things. There's a few Pokemon that induce status via an effective attack, things like Espeon GX. Additionally, Umbreon GX's GX attack gets rid of 2 energy on our board, but Mystic Heart does prevent that, and one of the awkward things for Mega Rayquaza is actually energy denial. So Magearna is fantastic for protecting you from some of these things. So yeah, this is very good for you. I really like this as the one of. I just think it's the safest way to go. You get around things like Bubble, just random things like that just don't really worry you anymore. And I think that's the most important tech choice for right now, in my opinion. Other options I'll get into later. We've seen the Volcanion EX build, we've seen just Jolteon, we've seen Manaphy at times. So right now I'm happy with the metal build. I think it's the most important. In terms of an attacker, it can also use Soul Blaster for a metal and 2 colors to deal 120. I mean, it's Mega Ray, so normally you're dealing a lot more damage just with the Mega, so it's rare that you'll get this guy going, but it is an option for you if need be. The one of non-EX that we're playing is going to be Jirachi. Basically because Giratina has popped up, Darkrai Dragons won in Anaheim, we need to have an answer to Giratina. There's a few routes you can go for this. I'm choosing Jirachi promo right now. Its Stardust is a fantastic attack for dealing with Giratinas and other things with special energy, even to an extent the mirror match if they're not playing Magearna. So you discard energy and you prevent all effects of attacks, including damage done to this Pokemon during your next turn. So it basically is a check to the Giratina for the majority of the game, which is very good for you. Even if it's just a 1 count and they sort of just pass, and then you either don't retreat it or you just, you know, get Lysandred up and KO'd. Like I said, we have puzzles, we have Super Rod, we have Dragonite. We should be able to recover and recycle this Jirachi enough in the matchups that we need it to make a 1 count very useful for you. So really it's the check for Giratina, but in other spots it can be helpful also. So yeah, then 4 Shaymin EX is just pretty necessary. It's why this is on the high end of the budget spectrum, because Shaymin is very important for this deck. We can Sky Return if need be, but it's mainly in here just for the setup ability to draw us lots of cards. And just the 1 count of Dragonite EX, he's a fantastic card for reloading after, like I've said, things like Parallel City comes into play. Our bench is limited to 3, going down from 8 if we have Skyfield in play. So as soon as we find Dragonite, we can pull not only himself onto the bench for 30 damage, but he also gets 2 basic Pokemon from the discard pile back into the hand, where we can instantly bench them, which is fantastic for us because it means we can also get reuses out of Hoopa EX and Shaymin EX to draw us into more cards and hopefully get us back on track from a Parallel City afterwards. The reason it's only a 1 count is because a lot of the time decks playing Parallel City are playing it with Garbodor, so we don't really like, it's not always valuable, but in some matchups where, you know, they're just playing their normal stadium, not necessarily Parallel City, but say they put down a Forest of Giant Plants or something like that, even going down from 8 to 5 can hurt Rayquaza's damage. You go down to 150, but now if you can find Skyfield, put down the Dragonite, you go back all the way up to 210, which is very good for you. So just the 1 count, he's important. Again, I'll go back to the point that we have puzzles and Rod, so we can recycle Dragonite, which means we can recycle even more Pokemon, which is pretty good for us. Onto the items now. We're playing 1 Escape Rope. Can help us get around the likes of Regice and Glaceon, which is cool, in a combination with a Lysandre. And it just means that we're adding a bit of extra gust in here. You can see we're only playing 1 Lysandre, which is kind of risky. But because Rayquaza in theory can just tackle anything in front of it, we don't need to gust too often. So we get away with the 1 Lysandre by having 1 Pseudo Lysandre in Escape Rope. Again, recyclable with puzzles, which is why we play the 1 count and also 1 of Switch. A lot of people will just say, well, just play 2 of whichever one you prefer, but in a deck where we do play puzzles, I like the option to recycle the right one at the right time. So that's why we're playing a 1-1 split as well as 1 Floatstone for an additional retreating option. We do have some chunky Pokemon. Dragonite is the chunkiest of them all with a 3 retreat cost. Hoopa has a 2 retreat cost. Even sometimes Floatstone can go onto Mega Rayquaza if you're the player going first, you can end your turn by Megaring without the use of a Spirit Link, which is why we only play 3 here. So it means that potentially even you could Floatstone a Mega Ray. If it gets damaged, you can retreat into another one for free, which is pretty cool. So yeah, that'll round out the Pokemon. We've got the one off Super Rod, getting back, not very often going to be energy, mainly it's just the recycle of Pokemon. Mega Ray rarely loses a prize race if it sort of just goes off. The way it sort of loses is it gets hit with N and it dead draws, and you can't recycle your Pokemon and stuff like that after they replace the stadium. Super Rod is going to be helpful for recycling Pokemon to draw you more cards, and just Pokemon in general, so that we can have more damage on our bench. The puzzles I've already mentioned a lot. It's a really important card in the deck, in my opinion. Very, very good for just getting back the combo pieces that you need, getting back DCE, Skyfield, these are 2 big ones that spring to mind, even Super Odd at times if it's a heavy parallel list. So yeah, then we just have 3 Mega Turbo. This means that we can attack on the first turn. If we are able to discard a metal, attach a DCE, find the Mega Turbo, we get there very nicely. It protects us a little bit from hammers as well at times, and just in general it means that we can get our second Rayquaza ready to go that much quicker. From there, just the consistency cards are for Trainer's Mail, for Ultra Ball, and for VS Seeker. Don't sleep on the fact that Ultra Ball is our most frequent target for getting rid of metal energies. Then we are maxing out Skyfield as well. Even though we play puzzles, we have to max it out because not only is it important turn 1, but it's important to always have the response after we get hit with a parallel city. The supporter line is really thin, mainly because it means that we can draw more cards from Shaymin. So we're only playing 1 Hex Maniac. This is going to be nice for Giratina EX, of course. We already have the Jirachi, but that only gets you so far. You then need to Hex Maniac and KO that Giratina at some point, otherwise you're going to be Lysandring around it the whole game. And that can be really awkward for you. So Hex is good for that, Hex is good for Volcanion, Hex is good for Decidueye, it's good for so many different matchups. The one of Lysandre, it's rare that you see one of Lysandre, especially because we're not playing Town Map in this list. But like I said, in theory, Ray can just charge through anything. You're very, very rarely concerned about prize race with this deck, because you just maul through things turn after turn. So Lysandre's just there to really close out the game and get your last 2 prizes rather than, you know, them throwing up a non-EX attacker or something like that. So yeah, Lysandre's pretty cool. The one of N, a deck as aggressive as Rayquaza doesn't really need N too much. The only upside to N is that it can shuffle the hand when we don't want painful discards, but that's kind of why we're playing the split of Lillie now anyway. So you can potentially even cut N altogether now that we have Lillie. But Shuffle Draw I think is still as important enough for when you have these clunky hands that you just can't do anything with. Lillie drawing like 1 or 2 cards isn't going to help you too much, but N potentially will be. Speaking of Lillie, it's a very good card in Mega Rayquaza. It's, you know, it's won me over in a lot of archetypes, to be honest. I'm preferring to Lillie to just playing like a straight 3 or 4 Sycamore, which is sometimes seen in previous Rayquaza lists. Lillie is awesome on the first turn, obviously, because you can draw until you have 8 in hand. So it helps your aggressive early combos. But really, it's just the fact that you can, you know, instead of having to Sycamore to dig for things, discarding your rope, your rod, 1 or 2, single puzzles of time, you can use Lillie to draw your hand up, and you keep the other puzzle, or some of these resources that you want to keep onto, but you're still cycling through the deck, hopefully finding more DCs and stuff like that. Never as powerful as Professor Sycamore. Potentially on turn 1 it can draw you a lot of cards, obviously, but I just like the resource management aspect. You get to hold on to VS Seekers, puzzles, Mega Turbos, these things that you need to hit off, rather than just dump and draw. But at the same time, still to Sycamore, because dump and draw is still oftentimes the best way that we can dig hardest into our deck and get rid of the rest of the junk that we don't need in hand. There's also a combo makeup for the metal energies, of course. Already mentioned the Floatstone just for a retreating option. Just the 3 Spirit Links. Most Mega decks play 4, but because we have the trait, we can end our turn going first, which means we don't need a Spirit Link. And oftentimes anyway, as a Ray player, I found that it's rare that 2 Mega Rayquazas will get knocked out. Normally people try and race you by KOing Shaymins and Hoopas, or they're just going to try and beat you in other means. So I think 3 Spirit Link is absolutely fine. And then just 4 DCE for, you know, all of our attacks, and the 4 metal as well. So yeah, it's a pretty simple, streamlined Ray list. Let's look at some other options. The Anaheim list played Volcanion EX and Fire Energies in their list because Steam Up allows you to simply become an activator for Mega Turbo. Using its ability, although you get no secondary use out of it, simply being able to -1 from the hand is really good for Mega Ray, and it effectively means that you're going to be hitting off your Mega Turbos that much quicker and improve your turn 1 potential, potentially exponentially. I've not played it enough to know how effective the Volcanion is. Slight concerns is that it's another Pokemon with 3 retreats on your bench, and we only play 1 Floatstone in here. You'd probably have to make a space for a second float for me to be comfortable with playing Volcanion EX. But at the same time, as soon as the stadium gets replaced, this is probably the first guy that goes in the bin because you've already got value from Mega Turbos. So yeah, that's an interesting and cool card that we saw get brought to the table in America. Also, Jolteon EX has often been paired with Mega Ray. If you're playing the Jolteon build, I literally never advise you to go for Flash Ray as an attack. I think it is almost never worth it because you're spending always 2 manual attachments to charge him up, which could be to Rayquazas. You're always really slow in your damage. You're only doing 70 a turn now, and Ray loves winning prize races. That's how it wins its games in my eyes, always. And at the same time, it was extremely rare for you to start Lone Jolteon and just win a game off of that these days. I know a lot of decks are just trying to play like escape ropes to get around Jolteon, but even the way that this deck is built, because we play so few supporter cards, it's really rare that you can sit with a Jolteon, turn 1 attach, turn 2 attach, and just be happy to Flash Ray for the rest of the game. I think it's very rare. You often need to use Shaymin to start digging for more energy, and then in comes the flaw that Jolteon can just lose because they get roped, Lysandred, or whatever else. And even some decks are playing Ranger. Things like Volcanion will play Ranger anyway. I don't feel Jolteon is that strong right now. Definitely not in Mega Ray. It's strong in other lists, but I think Mega Ray is best just trying to do its normal thing and not use Jolteon as an attacker. That being said, it could still be the best option for this deck. If you feel that Magearna's not doing enough work for you, you could still play Jolteon EX because it's a free retreater. And that alone just makes it really good because you effectively have 1 or 2 extra good starts for your deck, which aren't Hoopa and aren't Shaymin. So even though I would personally never try to attack with Jolteon, that doesn't mean that I don't like it in Rayquaza. Genesect EX is actually another one that you can tinker around with. We play 3 Spirit Links and 1 Floatstone, so again, just putting this on a Genesect before you Sycamore, or just having a Floatstone on there in general, means that all of your bench is free from Lysandre stall. That could be cool. Again, I think there's too much ability lock to really make it work, but that again can be an option for you in this list as your little bench sitter. And also Manaphy EX has been toyed around with for giving yourselves retreat, freeing up some slots from your switch cards. You can probably go down to 2 physical switch cards if you play Manaphy and Water Energies. My biggest concern with Manaphy Water Energies is that you spend your turn attachments just to retreat things, and that's really not good for Rayquaza players. So Manaphy is my least favourite of those things. I want to try out the Volcanion. The Jolteon is the gold standard if you don't need Magearna in my eyes, depending on how good Volcanion improves the deck, which I haven't tested out enough to really come back to you with. Non-EX Magearna is also sometimes the non-EX that we look for if Jirachi is not pulling its weight, if you're not expecting much Giratina. Magearna can be thrown in here, doing 20 times the number of different types of Pokemon on your opponent's bench. This can also help you get around Regice and Glaceon. We only play 1 Rope, so potentially if you're worried about those things, you can play it. I honestly don't think it's too big of an issue. It also does improve your Rainbow Force matchup quite a lot as well, so that could also be snuck in here. Oranguru is a new card from Sun and Moon, which could also be a one-of as your non-EX for Instruct. Once during a turn you may draw until you have 3 cards in your hand. As you can see, one of the weaknesses of Rayquaza is just simply N. You get N into a bad hand, you just can't reload, and having an Oranguru on the bench with Instruct as its ability can really help you out from N to 1 or N to 2 or whatever. You just get to cycle 1 or 2 more cards often with him to get you into that last VS Seeker or that last DCE or whatever it is. To finish off the game, I'm currently not playing it for space more than anything else. You could tinker around, maybe try cutting 1 Trainer's Mail, because it's Oranguru is still technically a consistency card, I guess. I think 1 Mail would be the first thing I look to cut, if anything, in this list. Everything else is fairly tight. Potentially you could cut all the Lilies out and just go to third Sycamore and then try Oranguru. Right now I'm just happy without it, but I can see it being useful. Again, I go back to the point that a lot of decks are playing Garbodor, so I'm not hugely convinced by Oranguru helping out too much, but he could potentially be helpful. A couple other supporters. Brock's Grit could be nice. I think before I go to a Brock's Grit, I would prefer to go to 2 Super Odds. The reason why I don't like Brock's Grit is just that he's so slow. Spending a supporter to do this sort of effect is just not good enough in my eyes. When you're trying to be as aggressive as you are with Mega Rayquaza, I feel that Brock, although it is helpful for the reload, especially if you're under ability lock, using that Brock is so slow. That's your turn done from there, and you start falling behind even though you've put all those Pokemon back into your deck. You'd much rather go for Super Odd Sycamore trying to hit them all again, pretty much. So that could be an option. I'd go to second Rod if I wasn't playing puzzles. I know some people have the debate around puzzle. If you're cutting 4 puzzle, I think the first thing you have to do is go up to a second Rod. You also need to play Special Charge. And there's then 2 slots I think you gain from playing no puzzle. But overall I'm a big fan of puzzle. So yeah, Special Charge is something that you can consider. Where is it? There it is. So yeah, just recycling DCs. It's pretty much the most important card in the deck, so that's not ridiculous. Town Map's a cool one as well, especially because we go so aggressive with prizes. By turn 2 you expect to have taken 2 prizes, often, unless it's a heavy non-EX deck. And Town Map is going to be awesome for picking out things like the puzzles, like the DCEs, the one-off supporters that we play, even the one-off items that we play. It could be really helpful. Again, it's a space issue for me why we're not playing Town Map right now. I kind of really want to. I think if I'm ever working a space in, I think it's for Town Map above anything else, in my personal opinion. Also, the other new supporter from the set, Professor Kukui, is one that some people are considering, just so that you can reach that little bit higher. With a 5 Pokemon bench, you can hit 170, which is a good number. Additionally, you can go up to 250 if you have a full bench of 8 and Professor Kukui. Actually, you go to 260. So you can deal with things like Solgaleo. Personally, I don't think Solgaleo is a big enough threat to the deck to warrant it. So that's why we're not playing Kukui. I think in general it's too slow of a supporter, and basically my mindset is always with Ray, if I'm enter 1, do I want this card in my hand? If the answer is no, it's probably not in this list. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Let's jump into the ladder now and see what Ray can do, how well we draw off ends, and how well we draw in general, because Rayquaza is a deck that can go nuts at times and just be completely unplayably difficult to play against. But at times it can just draw into the wrong sequence of cards, and that can be awkward for you. So let's see how we do. Let's see how many people are teching for Ray today. So the opponent's going to go first, so we technically have the option to hit 240 turn 1. And this hand is excellent. I really hope we don't get hit with N. This hand is like a dream right now. Oh my goodness. Play it cool, lads. Play it cool. This is when the poker face comes into play. The opponent needs Trubbish, which potentially is awkward for us, depending on if they move it from the active. Seeing a Mega Ray, you've got to be scared straight away. I wonder what list this is. Oftentimes Trubbish finds its way into Mewtwo lists and also Yveltal most popularly. But we'll see what the opponent can do here. Looks like we see Floatstone to Trubbish, which is pretty good. Going to see an Ultra Ball as well. Going to be getting rid of Ninja Boy and Tauros, so this is most likely Yveltal in my eyes. Going to see the Shaymin EX here. A second Trubbish comes down. And a Glaceon. Ooh. Okay. So Glaceon Garb hammers. This is pretty awkward for us, for certain. Definitely that last part. If they play hammers, it's awkward. But we'll have to wait and see here. Pidgeot. Does Pidgeot lists normally play hammers? Yeah, I think they do. Sometimes they definitely do. Gonna see another Ultra Ball, getting rid of a second Ninja Boy and a Glaceon. They're gonna be going for Shaymin. There's a DC to the Glaceon EX and another setup for 5 cards. Pretty good start from the opponent. Glaceon is obviously awkward for Rayquaza. We do have the Jirachi, which can help out. And we'll have to wait and see if Rope is in the deck. If not, we could be in a bit of a bother. They're going to promote the Pidgeot. And they're going to pass. Okay. Top decking DC is not fantastic because it's not an insta-play card, but the rest of our hand pretty much is, which is good news. We're going to set up for 3 cards. And this is where the hope thing comes into play with Ray. It's only 3 cards. We could just end our turn here, basically, depending on what we draw. And then we go. We just didn't draw well, so we just have to pass this turn. Other times you draw into an Ultra Ball or a supporter and you get Hoopa and you go nuts and take a KO. But sometimes that just doesn't happen. And just like right then, it didn't happen. Next turn might well be a switch Sky Return play. There's Garbodor, so now Sky Return's pretty useless to us. Turn 2 Garb. Nice. Gonna see an Ultra Ball. They might be developing second Garb here. They're gonna get rid of another Tauros. The only thing we haven't seen so far is any form of energy denial. That's what we need to really be worried about more than anything else. So they do search out that second Garbodor, which is really not great for Ray, especially when we haven't been able to develop at all. They actually choose to panel themselves to get rid of both of their Shaymins. You can see Delinquent here. And probably a pass. Maybe just evolve pass. Just a pass. Okay, we actually draw it to N, which we are forced to play. I'm going to attach the DCE reluctantly. I'm going to play N here. Oh, one of these days. One of these days. Let's pass. I mean, Mirror Move's not a problem if we just poked for 30 there, but I don't know. Didn't feel like it. Floatstone to Trubbish. What a pro hand we've got ourselves here. There's a manual attachment and a Fury Belt. Another Pidgeot EX. Third Trubbish. The army of Garbs are here. And fortunately, we get End. Second Garbodor comes down. And it's back over to us. Haven't seen any form of energy denial, which is really good. We're going to bench Hoopa. Obviously we get no ability. I'm going to Ultra Ball away one puzzle here, I think. Alternative is to just find Ray, attach DCE, puzzle my top decks and figure out what goes on. That's probably what we're going to do instead, actually. I'm going to find this guy. Just go for single puzzle here, sort out our top decks. Ugh, they're all gross. Even though Ultra Ball can change our top decks, I don't want to take it because I'll have no targets in hand. So we'll just Ray, DC, Mega, and be done. With a turn. Why on earth would they scoop in that spot? Wow, I think we like seriously lose that game. I really think we lose that game. Okay. Well. Oh well. Let's crack on. Huh. I mean, we do have Magearna. Magearna can KO Glaceon. Yeah, I can kind of see why this keeps. Okay, this time we get to go first. And we'll see if we can draw better than last game. Banking on 2 Trainers Mails so far. Not necessarily terrible. Good thing about going first is you don't need to rely on the Mega Turbo combo as much. There is a Volcanion staring us down. We're going to take the Sycamore off this. And I'm going to Trainers Mail again. Not going to take any of these. We want those in the deck. My turn attachment. Yeah, it's going to be to Magearna, I think. I want to move out of the way this turn. Because it can get power heated for a KO, and I don't want that to happen. It's a bit of a janky hand. I'm going to get rid of one Skyfield, because Volcanion typically only plays like 2 stadiums of their own. So I think I'm always winning the stadium war. Looks like... Okay. Let's have a look what's going on here. Okay. We're just going to go for 2 Rays and a Shaymin. Ideally, we can end our turn on a Mega, but I didn't want to just go Ray, Mega Ray, Shaymin. That doesn't seem very good. There's still chances for us to still find like Spirit Links as well and stuff. Ooh, the second Hoopa is awesome. So we are at 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18. So we'll just retreat. I think I'm still retreating into a Ray here. We don't have a switch card in hand. It would otherwise be the non-EX just to be a useless, easy prize for them to take. How often do they power heater? Quite often. Okay. We can just do this. Don't really want to commit any more Pokemon to the bench just in case the stadium goes. Then again, our only supporter is Sycamore. I'm okay just Mega-ing here. Fairly okay, at least. Gonna see Ultra Ball. Getting rid of a VS Seeker and a Fire Energy. For that Hoopa EX. Looks like they're going to start getting a bunch of Volks down themselves. Yep, 2 Volk EXs and a Shaymin EX. Gonna see a Max Elixir. Onto Volcanion. And a setup for 3 cards. See a Fury Belt. And another Shaymin. They can quite contently go for as many Shaymins as they want while Skyfield's in. Gonna see an Ultra Ball now. Getting rid of Escape Rope. And another VS Seeker. For the non-EX Volcanion. It's almost always going to be their turn 1 play. There's a Scorched Earth. So they get to freely discard one of their Shaymins. There's a use of Scorched Earth to draw 2. They're yet to use as a porter, so their turn can still go on. There's a Max Elixir onto the non-EX Volcanion. And a switch. And a Sycamore High 5? No, just a Steam Up. Well, the hand is dead at least. I'm kind of surprised they did that second Steam Up. I probably would have held that just for Scorched Earth next turn. Didn't need it for damage. Okay. Attachment is always here. I think I'm going to Ultra Ball some stuff just to lower the hand size for Shaymin. Try and find like second puzzles the dream here. Never the dream, but at least we got N. Which we'll go for. I mean, it's not great against his hand, but I would rather keep our resources. There's Skyfield, which is cool. We can grab ourselves Dragonite. Now, do I sack a second puzzle here and just keep 2 puzzles? We can sack a puzzle, I think. Just hold on to the VS Seeker. Oh, Dragonite's prized. Okay. So we gotta find double puzzle or Mega Turbo. Yeah. 5 draws. It's not that likely. Do have Trainer's Mails on top of that though. We'll see. Ugh, never lucky. Okay. Do I have a Super Rod now just to get it in? I think I can. And we'll just pass. Good to see a Fury Belt. Steam Up. Trainer's Mail. Okay. Go see a Retrieval for some more Steam Ups, I imagine. Maybe a manual attachment in there somewhere. Just 3 Steam Ups, it looks like. And a Lysandre play, so they're trying to race us for prizes. Taking that Pokemon off our board means that we can't Lysandre back. 3, 6, 9, 12, 15. Okay, let's have a think. Well, we can hit 180 now. 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18. Lysandre this guy. It's important to deal with the Volk EXs because it limits their Steam Up potential overall. Because they're at 140, 170, 200. Yeah, I think it's a Lysandre turn. We got to keep up here. I'd love it to be the one with free energy, but it's got the Fury Belt, so we'll just bop this one. Hope to get Dragonite off the top or something. Or VS Seeker or something good. Who knows? Puzzle's good. Puzzle Dragonite is really good. The dream. Okay, they promote the Volcanion EX. I wonder if they can go all the way with this hand. We know they have Sycamore in there. Steam up number 1. So they're at 170. Retrieval gets them to 200. And they can get a turn attach in. And I'm going to see the Sycamore gets rid of an Ultra Ball. I might have Retrieval just to get the Ultra Ball there. Just guarantee the Volk. They're going to Super Rod. Uh-oh. Super Rodding back in the Volk so that they can search it out again. Uh-oh. Not good. Not good news. There's a Scorched Earth. And no knockout, which is good for us. I'm going to start with Trainer's Mail before the puzzles here, because it could influence what we recover. Yeah, because I was going to go for a Mega Turbo. Now we don't have to. So we go Skyfield here. And I think it's just going to be VS Seeker. We get a switch, which is cool. Preserve this, make it more awkward for the Baby Volk to get a KO. The other cards in our hand, like the Trainer's Mail, like we could have played just now, but I'd rather have outs to N, because we're ending ourselves here. Just considering if I want to make use of this float stone now. I think I do. I think I'm just going to put it... Yeah, Dragonite's fine, just because we have the DC in hand. Emerald Break. Get ourselves 2 cards that I would have liked to have thinned out before we get hit with N. They promote Hoopa, which is interesting. They probably have Floatstone in hand, if that's the case. There's another Volk EX. There is Floatstone, as predicted. And they're just going to fire off an N back at us. So this is where the sort of N and Prey comes into effect. There's the Trainer's Mail that we held onto. So we have 3 VS Seekers. Okay. We've got pretty good odds. Wow, that's a really nice end for them. That's pretty impressive. That keeps them in the game. For certain. It's a pretty good power heater turn. Let's see if we can end it all. Escape Rope doesn't do it because that's there. And Trainer's Mail. The Trainer's Mail that we held Ah, feels good when you get rewarded for doing the right things. Feels good. Sorry, sad face man. We had the outs. Okay, let's get one more game in with Ray. Game 1 didn't really count because they kind of built a board to destroy us and then just sort of scooped. And that game was close. We had a slow start, but we got there. We got there. We're up against Spinal 27. Something that shouldn't be underestimated is just how much HP Mega Ray has as well. The only way that they tried to efficiently race was dealing with Shaymins and stuff like that, so... The Rays themselves are pretty tanky. We actually get to start with a Ray as well, which is great news. Awesome hand here. Really awesome hand. Like, stupid good. We're up against Mega Ray plus Mega Latios. That sounds weird to me. We'll see what's going on here. PTCGO never fails to surprise me. Let's draw a card. Let's get that Mewtwo in the active. Now these males are more effective after I Hoopa, but if I get links, it means I can start grabbing Megas. So I'm going to play at least one first. Skyfield's not bad. Okay, I'm content enough to use Hoopa now. I think I'll grab one Mega. Just do it this way. Now we can use the mail. Hit Spirit Link, which is awesome for us. Because we can thin a lot of cards. I'm happy to Mega the active because we're up against a double Mega deck, so we can't really assume much more damage than just Shatter Shot turn 1. We're going to dig here, trying to find a Hex is the big thing we want to do. Finding Hex against Mega decks is like a really big deal. One more draw. Never hurt anyone. Double puzzles, good, but not right now. So we'll just Mega to end our turn. Good hand though. Pretty good hand. And that's why we wanted to find Hex. Right there. That guy. Weren't able to do it, unfortunately. They're going to grab more Latioses. So they think Latios is the win condition in this matchup, huh? We know they play Parallel though, so this is still going to be a close game. As many as 4 Latios. There's a Spirit Link. Ultra Ball as well. Getting rid of a DCE. Wow. Who needs them? Wow, all 4 Ultra Balls turn 1. Must be nice. That's crazy. Okay, they found themselves the Mega for next turn. They instantly have the Parallel also, which makes me pretty sad. We can puzzle back, actually get puzzle value now though. You can go puzzle Hoopa, Hoopa Skyfield with our puzzles. And that will be excellent. More Spirit Links. Basically wherever they commit their energy, we're just Lysandering that. Do they have energy? Ooh, they commit to the active. Okay, that wasn't the answer I was expecting. Let's double puzzle before anything else. Get Magearna down. Let's attach 3, 6, 9, 12, 15. Just one Shaymin gets us there. It's whether or not I think this Mewtwo is a threat. 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18. I guess it is if they just attach a DCE. So we'll just not play Lysandre. I'd rather keep the Dragonite in hand than just the Shaymin. Just for more reloads, more parallels, stuff like that. 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18. That's all we need. Okay then. Those are some nice prizes. Ultra Ball's always good, and it's an activator for Mega Turbo in this spot. And it lowers the hand size for the Shaymin that we can pluck out with Dragonite. So we see a double Mega Evolution. See a Mega Turbo. DDE as well. N. Digging for double Dragon. It's a pretty slow hand for us. We actually can't one-hit KO this thing in front of us. And they're taking 2 prizes if they want it. Yeah, they're just going to swipe a Shaymin real quick. The race is on. The good news is they always have to recommit energy to their active because they always have to discard it. So that really does suck for them. Let's Lillie for 3 cards. Ultra Ball's not bad here, but keeping Lysandre in hand is pretty good. 12, 15. If I find Dragonite, I can actually get the KO, so we will do this. Three, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18. 210, 240. Latios is 220. We also get the cheeky Mega Turbo value. We can cash in on this Float Stone. Draw ourselves some cards. Lots of Skyfields. Let's go all the way. Nice hand, nice hand. Nice 2 prizes. And the opponent really doesn't have much of a board state at all. Even if they take 2 prizes here with like Mega Turbo DDE. I think Mega Turbo DDD N scares me a little bit. I think, okay, Delinquent's absolutely fine. I think we almost always have the hand to deal with this. There's the Mega Turbo. There's the Double Dragon. And we can chill because we have VS Seeker in hand. And Lysandre's waiting there for us. 3, 6, 9, 12. We have it on board. We can chillax. Double puzzle. When Ray draws well, it's such a good deck. You can say that about most decks, but Ray really does just reward skillful top decks. There we go. Ray taking names. I think Mega Latios, you should always be favoured. That's, you know, Mega Latios isn't a top tier archetype. But that's all I have time for now. So that's all you're going to see of Mega Ray. Let me know your favourite build. What do you think about Volcanion? Do you need Magearna? Is he completely necessary? Or can you get creative and try some of the other types of energy and Pokemon? How's Oranguru gone for you in your testing? I'd like to hear that also. And any other new cards from Sun and Moon that may have been overlooked, or other ways you'd like to play the list. I know some people are divided on Puzzle of Time, whether or not it should be in Ray or not. I hope in my games I showed why I like puzzles. Even in that last game, it showed that we can just grab Skyfield and VS Seeker, and that was really good for us. So yeah, there's Mega Ray. Hope you all enjoyed, guys. Leave a like to the video if you did. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. For now, though, it's been Joe from Omnipoke, and I'll be seeing you guys next time.